and welcome to yet another stream. So this will be a somewhat short stream before I go to the gym. Let's see what's going on. So during the last episode, we did some stuff in terms of messing around with the conveyor belt. I did even more modifications to this. Hello, how are you doing? I did more modifications to the code, so it ended up being a bit more, Oh, I'm happy to hear, man. A bit more robust and efficient. So right now, the belts work, no matter the direction. So in order to complete the belts, we of course need some kind of method of transferring items to and from a belt. Right now we can add items, of course, to the belt. Yeah, but for instance, we would want something like this extractor here, extracting some resources and then being able to place a belt and move, I guess, from the actual extractor. What's the end goal of this project? A terraforming game. So yeah, and we have our factory here, so the item processor here. Yeah, so yeah, I also think it should be fun. So yeah, so at least this should consume something. What's up, dude? What's up, dude? So we should add some kind of way to consume from a belt. Oh, that's nice. Feel free to post some screenshots on the Discord server. That's awesome, man. Yeah, so I was just considering how to actually spawn objects on sure thing, man. Looking forward to it. Yeah, so consuming is something. Mm, yeah, okay. Right now we have the ability to place stuff, but consuming is something, or maybe even transferring. So if I were to create two belt segments, I would want to transfer from one to the another. So we need some kind of logic that for one is able to consume item on belt end. And the way we do that is whenever we increase the gap index for each time we create a gap. And we get ready to move on to the next one, which we do by decreasing this. But I guess if we increase it, it means that we yeah, that sounds nice, man. Seems like you are locked and loaded. So we can always add another. And let's see. It will of course check whatever gaps we have. Okay. Haha, that's pretty impressive, man. That's awesome, man. Okay, let's see. So I could do something like create some kind of consumer. And this is on the text itself. Yeah. If let's just do some naive implementation here. Let's see. Oh, you think so? I'm not sure. Seems like you have a lot of different systems in place. I'm just messing around with yeah. But I'm happy for you, man. Let's see. So do we actually end up in a state where the exit gap, yeah. First of all, yeah, I'm happy that I've been able to contribute a bit. Uh, yeah, rendering is tricky, but once you get the hang of it, it's all right. Only the more advanced stuff is complicated, but it seems like it's just building upon the basic stuff and using different methods and algorithms on top of each other. Oh, uh, we don't want even to check the exit gap if it doesn't have a. Right now we use a vector. We won't be using that, but all right, let's just do then items and the exit gap is uh, less than or equal to item ready, baby. Let's do it with the spelling error. Baby. All right. So our command prompt should, yeah, we got an item ready. And kind of like, when do we end up in that state? Let's see, now. Okay, so it's when it's actually according to this value here. Since we, yeah. Okay, let's try removing an object and see if our stuff still runs. And we'll do it really, really slow here. I don't know. Maybe we want some kind of like ring buffer. Like a ring buffer where we always end up otherwise, how are we supposed to handle the array? I mean, no. Well, doing several iterations of projects like that is probably a good way to do it anyway. I mean, the first game I did here on the channel, I don't know if I've showed you, but it was like this one, right? Yeah, this one I obviously didn't port the code for it. Uh, only the parts that I wanted to, like, uh, yeah. Well, since you started learning something newer than 11, it's not that different, but I might end up migrating a project like this to C actually. Oh, well, not straight C because the DirectX12 API doesn't allow you to write stuff in C. Uh, you need the C++ class stuff for it. Um, but maybe a more C style engine in general. Um, so right now we have one solution, which is the most naive way. Um, add and remove from the yeah. Okay. Let's see. This will lead to a lot of allocations and reallocations, and we should have some kind of like, you know, maximum of items on belt is fixed anyway by the segment length. And right now the data for each item is kind of like decoupled. It's only the type. Basically, when we render it as well, we just use the index. We don't really use the item data right now, although yeah, the item data is more for the simulation. Yeah, right now we will all of our data processing is data driven, so it's basically batched already. So that's the way I do programming. Uh, so yeah, that's definitely what I will end up with. I'm just trying to figure out the overall architecture for this kind of loop. And doing the naive stuff is sometimes a way to reason about the underlying data. So since the item array is kind of like decoupled from all of our stuff here, uh, the only thing it would change, and only specifically change for the visible belts, are this part here. So we would have to kind of like have some kind of like we would only, well, this could just be a number, right? And we're not accessing, well, then again, if we just have some kind of like right head index, we could always like offset and then do a modulo operation. So if we wanted to, for instance, access item type for rendering, we could do item index plus the right head modulo total segment size. And I guess we could do the same thing for our gaps as well. I don't know. Yeah. So the underlying array would be a ring buffer. Yeah, let's try that. Okay. Okay, and we will have to restructure this. So and we would have to modify this whenever we add something. Yeah, exactly. And basically right now it's vectors. That's the underlying data structure, but I'll change this into static arrays. Uh, for each belt segment, and we will have some predefined sizes. So, for instance, belt segments that are belt segments of 100 belts, maybe 50, or whatever multiple is more performant, and then maybe 64, 32, 8, and then 1 or something. And just allocate static arrays, probably just on the heap somewhere. So therefore we need a series of ring buffers, I think. Maybe not for this, but I don't know. Yeah. So whenever we remove an item, so let's add our buffer here. Nah, double buffer is not. And it's not needed. And this is for the item logic. So this is not for the actual belt segments themselves. How we do belt segments and merging and splitting of those belt segments is an entirely different thing. Right now, we don't even have logic that allows you to build the God damn it, am I? Please stop doing that. Let me see. Windows Defender doesn't like my game. Blueprints and ghosting. We'll see if this game will want that. It's basically going to be a terraforming game, so I'm not even sure that I'm gonna use this conveyor belt stuff. Yeah, sorry, I forgot my train of thought. Yeah, so this is just the items on the belt segments. We will do merging and splitting of the actual conveyor belts itself, and right now we cannot build any. Oh, I'm just getting so tilted by that. Um, we cannot build actual belt segments yet with any logic. Let me just figure out. Windows Defender. Let me just set up this stuff here. Does it work now? Hopefully. Yeah, there we go. No more virus scans. Okay, so if we have an item, our write head index should be 1 then. Uh, and we shouldn't care about it. So if we pop the item, write head index still 1, and then add another item. It should of course be here, and then the write head index should be 2, and so forth. Hello, how you doing, buddy? Okay, so right now when we add our item, we will of course increase this. Equals itself. Should we make this more readable? Segment. Okay. Let's see, build pieces.size. And this is the first item, so it shouldn't matter. And instead of doing this, we should stop doing this. Oh, maybe we want to actually also hold a count. Right now this will be double, but when we change this into a static array, it will of course stay because we want to actually know how many item is in our static array. So right now it's kind of like having double values here, but eventually it will be uh, just all right. And instead this should be when we actually create the how many items are we supposed to store on the right now this won't work. I actually think this is supposed to be resize. Equals item here. Let's try doing that. And let's see, so Oh, this is belt pieces. This is the gaps. Okay. And this is of course not supposed to be like this, but yeah, buddy. It works again. Okay, so we have our stuff. Let's see. So whenever I actually add an item, which I do up here, I want to just to print out uh, conveyor item array size. Let's see. Let's delete this stuff here, and it's no longer size, it's item count. $24, and let's just remove this for now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, so it's actually wrong. It can only store 2 per belt piece. I just felt like it was like looking like 16. Let's see. Yeah. Uh, so a belt will be able to 1, 2, 3. Whoops. Oh, it doesn't. Right now, it doesn't. It's not coupled to the actual logic. I can easily press the button fast. It's not the thing I'm working on per se. So 1, 2, 3, potentially. But so are we saying that these two are on this one, then these two are on... Ah, okay, fair enough. So are we doing like 2 per belt? And then this is, and this, and this. One, two, three, four, five, 6. So that this will give us the overflow problem here. Yeah, it's not related to the actual item stuff. It's related to the total gap size, I think. So whenever we overflow, let's just do it temporary here. If item is bigger than or equal to 12, let's print the should we? Oh, if we just clamp it, right? Yeah, I don't think we need to do this. We will just do. Ama, I hope I didn't butcher it. Welcome to the channel. Let's just not max the minimum here. This should fix our overflow, or rather out of bounds stuff. Yeah, right now we don't run into trouble anymore. Let's see. And when we set up the belt pieces is not 8 right now, it's 6. And right now, uh, using our logic, this belongs to this belt piece, this belongs to this belt piece. So whatever we would want to add here would actually belong to this belt piece. And only once it kind of like crosses the barrier of moving into this one should it appear. Okay. Let's see what happens if okay, nothing happens if I keep on spamming this, so that's great. And yeah, of course we need to find the minimum. Okay. So we're ready to try consuming some stuff. Let's just try reducing the let's do a simple thing here. Let's see, I can write to the same window. So doing something like temp window. And remove item. Let's try reducing the item count here. It kind of like, oh, it's only for the okay, yeah. It's because it's inside the simulation, so it only updates for each tick. So let's move this to the application side of things. We would want it inside the simulation, but right now we're adding and removing item. Okay, and it removes the last item. Well, that's probably because right now our rendering is not dynamic in terms of the actual items. So if we remove an item here, it's because it's simply rendering less and less items. So the problem is the way that we index. Hello, I'm gonna make a terraforming game, I think. Like with building and crafting and then some terraforming. Hello, how are you doing? Yeah, hopefully it will be. Yeah, Planet Crafter. But I think I'll when I do the next part of the stream, probably later. I don't know. Oh, you were mentioning an actual title. I didn't know. I haven't played it either. I've played no other terraforming game than actually the board game Terraforming Mars. So yeah, but whenever I do the next stream today, um, probably after or later today, I'll decide on some more design stuff. if I get done with this stuff here. Okay, so right now, well, I really love it, so I'm sorry you feel that way. I think what they teach at universities is probably not that great, though. Um, Maybe I actually want the same thing for the gaps. Okay, let's just get some debug information here. Um, okay, let's do the same thing here. Yeah, I understand. Item array content. Oh, let's see. I've only been doing C++ on and off as a hobby. So I have a full-time job at a hospital, so I don't even do programming for a living. Um, so as a hobby, I've been doing it for probably only a few months after I started the first videos on this channel, and I don't know how long it's been so far. Let's see. Yeah, so My channel started August 23, and I probably started doing C++ and programming as a hobby around February 23 or something. But I did PHP and MySQL for as a teenager, so it was not like I didn't do any quote-unquote programming before. Item values. Uh, let's see. Thank you, man. Thank you. Always appreciate the support. Okay. We should see our array now in the window here. Okay, for some reason it doesn't really wrap. Oh, it's because well, I know the bug times 2, of course. Huh? Okay, now it's just totally whack. And let's see. So the bug is what exactly? So we have our first item, second item, then we jump to our now that's weird. Now that's a weird bug. Uh, so whenever we add data to our this is of course not it, but how come it jumps? Oh. The way I evaluate this expression is, of course, not in the right order. That's why. No, it's not why. uh, I did it wrong again. Here we go. It was still handling the expression the wrong way. Okay. Okay, and when we remove an item, I want to oh, we actually have this segment thingy that I can use instead. segment, right head, index -1. So that will invalidate the item. And we actually see our algorithm here. So it adds it to the quote-unquote end of the array. So that's great, but our rendering algorithm, of course, doesn't really know how to do stuff like that. And also, let's set up our gaps thingy to actually do the same thing. And let's do gaps resize here. Okay, and whenever we create an item, we don't want to do this. We do want the segment gaps, segment item right head. Equals the entry gap. And let's do the same thing in terms of passing out the gaps. Item gap content. Okay. We have our data here. Oh yeah, of course. We also need to modify the way that we're rendering stuff. But let's see. Data. It doesn't seem like the information actually. So I mean, this should. Right now, it doesn't set the. Maybe if I do it more slowly, it will actually add gaps. No, it just grabs the last index. Yeah, so we definitely have a problem. Um, I mean, and let's just, for debugging here, debug values. Let's do the unsigned in for this segment, right head. Yeah, so this is not getting updated correctly. It should actually do an array. So am I not doing this correctly? Uh, right head. Gap index. Are we just gap index is not getting increased? Am I doing this too fast again? Yeah, so this is because it reaches the end. Gap index? Is it because oh, I'm of course not writing the actual value. Yeah, so it's while it's at the belt itself, so if I just keep on spamming this. Right now it's just messing up entirely. Yeah, so I think we actually do have our ring buffer in place. So whenever we render our item, the first one works fine. Second one doesn't do anything. Let's see. Okay. Let's do okay, let's do something here. Segment dot right head, and we will let's just duplicate this if we need to revert back. And let's do segment dot item right head and item plus one modulo uh, plus one. All right. Is this fine? No. So let's see. Do we have a So this is going to... Let's do -1 here. Yeah. Okay, let's think about this. Uh, uh, yeah, definitely not the item count, right? Or, yeah. Yeah, actually the item count. No, right head is actually the... Okay, so... Let's say that we have an array here with our right head right here. That's actually the end of the array. The right head is wherever we will end. So if we have a right head here, we will be writing to this, and we would want our index to go from 0 to 2. If we have an right head that is something like depending on the item count, of course. Here it's 3. Then we want to go from 1 to 3. Count equals 2. Yeah, so the right head itself +1 should indicate wherever our stuff is actually indexing into. At least so I think. Because let's say that we created these 3 items. In here we also created 3 items. Whoops. And it should actually be here. So it's not 1, 2. Okay, let's just mark this with items instead because it's so confusing. So the right head will offset wherever we kind of like added items. So imagine we have this set up instead. So this would be 2, 5, 0, 1, 2, 3, right? Yeah. Okay. So we want to calculate the start index. Yeah, maybe we don't want, maybe we just want to do it for this, but the way that we index is different. Yeah, right now we don't care about this buffer. Maybe we do. So we have the total size. So the right head would be total 6. Right head equals 3 because it's 0 offset it or indexed. Hello, how you doing? The right head plus the item count here is actually the start index. What about here? Of course, moduloed by the I've been doing this as a hobby for I just did the calculation earlier, 1.5 years. I work at a hospital, so I don't do this as my job or either or even education. So let's take another case here. Okay, so the what we could do is like the start index equals right head plus item count, of course, modulo total. Let's do something like item here, 0, 0, right head, item, then the right head equals 2, and we're going from 5 to 1. Oh, thank you. I'm not sure I'm not good enough a programmer to actually sell it. Uh, Not yet. Since I can't do this full time, I'm only doing it as a hobby. Uh, I'll let people watch the videos and take from whatever inspiration they can from it. Uh, if they want to support the channel or even buy stuff from me, there's links to donation possibilities down in the description, so people can provide whatever they want to for the free content. I don't mind. Um, Maybe if I got good enough to actually feel like I mostly knew what I was doing, and not just trying to move forward from certain principles, well, then maybe I would do something educational. But yeah, I have these small tutorial videos here. Sure, you're probably right, but I don't feel like I'm good enough to actually take people's money for my services. So I'd rather just do streams and talk about programming and game development here on the channel, and try not to give people, too much, I'm trying to express. I'm concerned that I end up giving not optimal or great advice, and I might realize that down the road. So right now I'll just keep things free, and yeah, people can take and use whatever they want from it. Okay, let's see. So, well, this still holds up. So this is actually our start index. It seems const start index equals our segment dot right head plus the segment item count modulo thank you very much for your support, man, and happy to have you here. Sleep tight. Okay, so this is our start index. Mm, okay, so let's do const. No, not const. Uh, and let's update the gap index here. I'm not sure this is great, so yeah, we want to do it a number of times. This should probably just be I. Start index plus I guess. Modulo, segment, items, size here. Is this the way? Yeah, not right. Of course, the way that we update it is right now not correct either. Okay, so let's see if I disable this and don't update the belt. No, doesn't work. That's not. Let's not process the gaps itself, but only the Yeah. Yeah, maybe I want this to work in another way. Right now the gaps doesn't get set, which kind of like confuses me. Even if I wait like forever. So something is wrong when I add the items, I think. Exit gap. Did I actually create it? I think I did. But we don't actually have an entry gap, that's why I guess. Yeah, so when we update the... Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, this is wrong. That's why we're not seeing... Yeah, I'm trying to debug something that... Hopefully this code just works whenever I end up fixing the update logic. Yeah, hopefully this will just work how I expect it to. But right now this is faulty. So let's see. How do we want to update our exit gap? Or entry gap rather. Let's just do this for now. All right, immediately we see the stuff here. Yeah, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items, and we have 4 gaps, but we're not really rendering things correctly. Okay, let's reason about this right now. This will work the same way. And this is, of course, a bit wrong. Because it's supposed to start. It's actually one less in size. Because the -1, because it shouldn't be able to hold yeah, this gap index thing is for updating our stuff. Let's do let's see. gap right head, because this is actually different. I guess, isn't it? Uh, um, so, yeah, I gotta go soon, but yeah, we probably need a separate right head for that. In order to be able to actually use this as a ring buffer as well. Okay, so let's reason about this. Yeah, it's not right so far. Segment gaps. Okay. It won't work correctly, but at least we set the first one here. And we start iterating around the ring buffer. Great stuff. Okay. So we set our gaps correctly. So whenever we have our items here, we should have 0.7 as our gap between our two items. Right now, they are at the same position. Uh, okay, let's see. Our start index was the same. Item. Right now, we're not using it. Gap start index. gap index here. Gaps. Okay, let's do this. Okay, it still doesn't add actually. Let's see if I do like that. Yeah, we end up with this weird stuff here. Uh, is it actually the same thing? Let's see. Does this work for our first items? Yeah, somewhat does. Not exactly. Yeah, so it works for the first items. Of course, this stuff is totally messed up because the yeah, it shouldn't be that high. So let's manipulate the entry gap. If the entry gap is less than the let's see, so we have yeah, we want to do this every time update entry gap as long as it's uh, keep on adding until we meet first item. I mean, this is not actually correct, right? This used to be not correct. It's been like, when we do this, do we set our entry gap? Yeah, we do set it to 0. And is this actually correct? Yeah, so if this follows whatever item we inserted until the last reset, it will be correct. So as long as we keep on updating it, it will be correct. Yeah, so maybe if we did this, but instead of doing gaps.size, we minus this minus, let's do, can I do a reference here as well? No. I could do the reference, but let's see. Right now we won't. Gap index. Let's see if we do like this. Right now it doesn't update. So this will be negative, I think. Okay, let's do a reference here. Yeah, segment. Whoops. Segment dot exit gap. Segment dot exit gap. Entry gap. Yeah, this will not. Let's see, float. Const float comparison. This, let's just print it. Comparison. And it will be negative. Yeah, 0.5. 0. Yeah. So this is obviously wrong. So we want to actually right now when we add an item, if we have one item, we reset the entry gap since we add to the start of the belt, and we set the exit gap to be the total length of the belt. Then for our second item, since we're updating the entry gap each tick, we store it and we reset it because we're adding a new item at the start of the belt. We add that gap between the start of the belt and the previous entry gap because it actually followed the position on the belt of the first item, and therefore we store that gap as in between the items, and then we reset the right hit stuff. Okay, so that means that we want to update our entry gap as long as it's not yeah, so if we're having like full belt would be item count times currently we can have 2 items times 0.5. Okay, let's try changing that. So if we have minus, let's do item count here, item count times 0.5, and of course a float here. Yeah, so right now our entry gap is 6, which is fine. And there we go. Okay, so we're not updating the gaps exactly, but at least we do get the new stuff here. Okay, it doesn't work for the next one. Okay, it gets totally weird whenever we do like this. Okay, and then it doesn't increase anymore. So when does it stop increasing? Yeah, when we write the last one, it doesn't update anymore. So that actually works. So this comparison here is actually fine. Okay. Then we want to process our gaps. And right now, let's see. Let's just make sure that we can actually render stuff right. Yeah, so we can't for the next few items here. Maybe we want... Well, the gap start index is not correct, I think. It's just a 0 here for now, because, yeah, that will work. Of course, it will bug whenever we start doing stuff like that, but let's see, do I actually store the... Okay. Gap index. Yeah. Mm, does it actually work this way? No. Okay. And suddenly it jumped up to 4. 2, 4. Yeah. So this is wrong. We're still... And 2, okay. This is not correct. So whenever I add the stuff here, something is going wrong. So we do have our right head manipulation here. Well, I guess it's just... I mean, like, well, this is not correct, is it? Was this wrong all along? Maybe it was. Maybe it's not correct. Yeah, this is not correct, I think. What if we change the algorithm? Right head minus the count equals 3 or 0, right? Right head minus the count. So 0 minus 3 modulo. Actually, what's modulo? Corporate and test. Let's see. Unsigned int minus 3 modulo 6 1. Yeah, that's not correct. Yeah, and we'll just keep it. That would give us -1. Maybe the difference. Yeah. So if I do the right hit minus the thing count, let's just do an int here. Int here. Let's see. Let's see. Okay. Okay, it would be 11. That's not correct. Modulo itself or what? Would that be correct? No. Whoops. This is supposed to be here. 0, 0. Huh? Yeah, this should all be 0 still. Okay, when we overflow, let's see. No, it's not correct. Okay. Maybe we just want to... So we do have our gaps. So right now we have this first gap here. We should of course respect that order. Maybe we just want to start at the right head. Maybe we just want to start at the right head. Segment dot gap right head. Yeah. No? That will not be correct because we want to start at 0 whenever we can. So that's not correct. Let's see. Do I need to have a read head as well? No, it should just be... I don't think so. So whenever we kind of like... We do end up with actually using the ring buffer here correctly, but yeah, the gap index gets too high. Oh, maybe that's why it doesn't work. Of course I need to wrap the gap index. No, no, it's just... Maybe I need to do it. Let's see. So let's do something like this. Gap right head, gap index, which needs to be moduloed by the gap size here. No, this is not going to be correct. I mean, let's do, instead of gap index itself, let's call it gap count. Okay. And up here, The problem is that the gap count cannot right now actually gap count. Yeah, let's modify this value afterwards and then implement the ring buffer correctly. So we will do gap start index. Gap count. Modulo gap dot size. Okay. Gap start index. 0, 2. Well, that's not correct. So this algorithm, or rather calculation here, is not correct. It worked for 3 items here, but it's probably just because of chance. Okay. It will be 0. Well, the gap count can't be this high with the full build. Mostly, huh. Zero will work for whatever. And it's of course not working because the gap got too big. No, it's because our calculation here is wrong then. Okay, let me fix that whenever it ends up being bugged then. Right now we will just do this and this. Oh. Yeah. This will work. At least for now. Yeah. And then in our system here, if we do actually have a gap count, we will let's see. So what we do here is we take our this was dynamically allocated before, so whenever we had a gap, we would automatically reset to 0, which we don't now. I wonder if there's a fast way to like fast inversion indices array. start becomes end. Okay. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. I'm so stupid. I'm so stupid. Of course. Um. So we have two gaps, and our array is 13 long, or 11 long, 10 long, 11 I think. We would get 8 by this, but we simply want the first one. Yeah, so for instance, if we did something like 0 minus the gap count here, before when we had the actually dynamically, this would always, whenever the gap count was set to a value where it was equal to the size of the array. Let's see. Okay, let's create a gap current index as well. Yeah, because this is actually what we need. Gap current index. And let's just that as well, because one is the right head, one is the total amount of gaps, which we will replace when we do a static array instead of a dynamic array. The gap count needs to be set. So okay, so current index. So let's do like this instead, and then gap current index, and then gap current index. Okay, so this will reduce our gap sizes one by one. Okay, and this should, yeah, it ends up working almost the same. It's definitely not working the same. Okay. Yeah. It's related to a release mechanism. So 1, 2, 4.5. So let's see, we have 3 objects, we have 6. Huh? I've never had that bug in it before. What's happening? Execute, did I? Okay, I don't know. I couldn't see the output window here. Oh, okay. We probably have some out of bounds stuff somewhere. Anyway, I'll fix that later. I gotta go soon as well. Um, let's not print that. Okay. Yeah. So that makes sense that it's so the entry gap does get calculated correctly, but these values do not get updated correctly. Obviously. Why do we end up in that state where? Yeah, okay, the way it updates it is wrong. Okay. Yeah, I immediately see. It's this code here that's not correct. Let's see, segment. So if the gap count, oh. How does it end up being that big? It shouldn't. The gap count. Okay. Let's print this. Oh, wait a minute. This used to be gap current index, so let's not do anything if we're out of gaps, so to speak. There we go. And it immediately iterates down on that one. The actual rendering is not correct, but Yeah, okay. So far, so good. Does it work if I just add and delay? It had that weird bug where it kind of like sped up. Or what? It's almost correct. And this should not reset. It should keep it. But whenever we kind of like overflow, yeah, you can see that we actually end up in a state. But that's also because we're in a state where it shouldn't overflow. Instead, yeah, okay. So I'll work on this later. I gotta go now, since I'm going to the gym. So hopefully I'll be getting this sorted later. At least the updating stuff works. Most of this stuff works. I think the rendering part might be wrong, but I'm not sure. Maybe it's not wrong before. Yeah, so maybe it's whenever we do this. I mean, yeah. Yeah, it's something is happening in terms of adding objects here. So we also had a bug there. Is the what is the distance here? Yeah, and it immediately decreases them. Yeah, so what happens if we're in a state where if we have like 6 gaps, but we only have one gap to iterate over? Maybe -1 here. Let's just try that. No, that's not gonna work. Is it? No, it's not. It was because, yeah, so back in the day I had, back in the day it was kind of like the same. Current index and gap count. Yeah, so I said this is right now just pretending everything to be 0 here. It's just where the data is located in the actual ring buffer. The gap count increases. The current index increases. And when we're here for the first gap, we saw it working, so. But what happens if we have like 3 gaps and add another, and then this increases? Well, I guess it should work, right? Okay, so let's do this. They end up at the end state, and let's look at this value here. It does get updated. I mean, it just pops in, right? And it seems like the values do get updated correctly. Yeah, I'm suspecting that it's just the rendering part that is buggy right now. I'm suspecting that it's just the rendering part. And if I do like this, yeah, we're back. Yeah, so it's definitely the indexing stuff. Yeah, so I need to fix this eventually. Whenever we start removing objects. Needs a fix to run on our ring buffer system. Okay. Anyway, hello. How are you guys doing? You're welcome to just lurk around. I won't use a library for audio. I won't use libraries for kind of like pretty much everything. I think only ImGUI and the Microsoft DDS Loader so far. Definitely no plans of. I'm pretty good. Yeah, I don't care. I'm into the data processing itself and learning how to do different systems. So Christos, welcome to the channel and welcome for your thank you for your subscription. But we'll see. Maybe I'll change my mind. Maybe do something like direct audio or something. Anyway, guys, I gotta go. I'll probably return later today after a break. I need to go to the gym and do some stuff. So yeah, hopefully I'll catch you around. Always nice having you here and chatting with you. Take care. Bye bye.